Yeah, I don't have any topics, so I'll just... What? You know what I need to do? I need to turn down the volume on that.
Yeah, we do.
I'll be right back.
All right, I'll entertain while you're doing that. We're live. Still trying to figure out all this audio and visual stuff. Haven't figured out a good way to do this, so let me know in the comments what the quality is. Because we're doing it a different way than we did it last time. So I'm relying on you guys, eyes and ears, to tell us what it sounds like.
A late night stream. That's not
Hi,
necessarily
Gavin.
late night. Hi.
Hey, welcome. Yeah, we're doing a late night stream. We call it late night. For us old people, I guess it's late night. It's getting late around 8 o'clock for us 40 plus year olds. But nevertheless, we're here, and Jalen is telling us that the audio is so much better, so we got that part.
That's great.
Fixed.
I wish I could see the comments, but I don't have a screen in front of me.
They're on the top right. I don't know if you can read that way over there,
No, I
but
can't.
I don't know how else to get you to do that.
That's fine. You can do the comments. I'll just comment on top of the comments.
Okay, we're gonna start recording on the podcaster here too.
All right. So this will be, what episode is this?
I don't really know.
If we're gonna release it, is it the 7th?
6 or 7.
Those of you who know, comment.
Tell us how to do our podcast, okay?
Yeah. I want to say it's either the 7th or 8th.
Well, because I didn't really put out an actual episode
Yeah.
last week because it was just us playing around with the live stuff,
Mhm.
like we're doing again
Yeah.
this week. But we'll go ahead and record something, and maybe I'll throw it together.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna introduce it as the 7th episode, I guess.
All right.
And if it's not, then in post I'll just go back and say something.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to Seemingly Unpopular. This is season 2, episode 7. Welcome.
Welcome.
I mean, with this episode, we don't have anything planned out, really.
No, we don't. There are some things that I do want to talk about and touch on. Things that are going on in our world that
Mhm.
are really absurd, to say the least. So we can talk about those things. I'm also going to be trying to figure out all this other stuff that's on my computer here.
There's a lot of work that goes into these things. So, I mean, as we said before, but you guys have no idea how much effort goes into this, trying to figure out audio and visual, and there's a lot of stuff to it. So, if you are listening, if we eventually do get to a point where it's good enough to release just on the podcast itself, you are listening to a recording of a previous live stream. So it's going to feel a little bit
Odd
jumbled.
and weird.
Yeah. So, and we would encourage you to go back and watch the live stream. It's not necessarily going to be much, but it's at least a visual reference point. I guess you could call it that.
Yeah. Well, if you're not watching the podcast, why not? It's a visual addition
Yeah,
to.
it's better. It's fun. I mean,
It
would
is
you rather
fun.
watch something or just listen to it?
It's a lot more work,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot
And
that
I'm
goes
an
into
honest
it.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more work.
Mm-hmm. But
But it's fun.
If we had more people watching it, it might be worth
Even more fun.
more of the effort. I don't know. But yeah, we don't have any stories picked out or anything.
No, but there is one thing I want to talk about. And so this will be kind of our first topic.
Yeah.
And it has to do with full-grown men competing in women's sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I forget her. I don't want to talk about the dude who is claiming to be a female, so he can compete
Will
with
Thomas?
women. Whatever his name is, I don't want to highlight him. I want to talk about the woman who actually won the race.
Yeah.
Who, asterisk came in second to the dude.
I saw a news story that she was proud to support transgender athletes.
So maybe we should.
Like Thomas.
But she competed in a sport that it was, in a competition that was designed for her specific gender. She trained real hard. She competed and she won. And
pretty much flat out, she won.
That's really what we need to be congratulating.
Yeah, when you're focusing on it, there were a room full of females swimming, and there was one dude that won.
That blew away the competition.
Yeah, so among the females, she won. She's the victor. She is the true women's champion because she was competing in a women's sport and then won the women's sport against a bunch of other women.
Yeah.
She's the true women's champion.
But it's so funny to me how we're supposed to be so compassionate and think about feelings of transgenders. What about the feelings of the females who have worked so hard and have competed and end up losing to someone who shouldn't even be competing with them? We're not supposed to care about their feelings.
It was totally worth it because she's supporting a transgender athlete.
I can't do it.
But I can't help but feel like that was just a face that she put on. Because if she doesn't say that, then what happens?
You don't want
like
that
she gets
kind
attacked.
of attention on you.
Yeah.
Now, on that aspect, I can see.
I can understand how you would want to say that. Now, she didn't necessarily. I didn't read the full article, but I'm assuming she kind of made this broad statement of she liked to support transgender athletes in general. But she didn't necessarily only make it about Leah Thomas. So, I don't know. Be that as it may, she doesn't seem all that upset that he won.
Yeah. My opinion is the NCAA should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this to take place in the first place.
Yeah, it's not fair.
It's completely not fair. I don't care how much estrogen or whatever therapies this person went through to be able to meet their qualifications to compete in this competition.
Yeah.
You still have biological advantages.
You do.
Your body frame, your body structure, your muscles are giving you an advantage in a field full of women.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps not wanting to talk about how he was not a good swimmer in the men's competition. And so now we've allowed him to move to the women's competition where he's blowing everybody away.
Yeah. I'm a fan of aviation, so I would compare it to like if you were to take a cargo plane and a fighter jet into a war scene, and you send the fighter jet up and he's like whizzing around doing all kinds of crazy acrobatics, and then you send the cargo plane up there and he's not able to dodge anything. One of them has a physical advantage and is much easier, much more able to avoid attacks and to be able to strategically move around because of aerodynamics and just weight, and it all depends on how your body structure is. And I don't care how many hormones you take, you still have a body structure that is very much more capable of moving greater distances in water.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a greater advantage.
Yeah.
Given your biological structure, which no one can change.
Yeah. I mean, unless you want to like go in and surgically modify your legs, make them shorter, get rid of some of your muscle mass,
which I don't even think is possible.
Like a complete
exists.
overhaul of your entire bodily structure, then you might be on a slight level. But then, even after that, no matter how much estrogen you take, I would imagine that you still have a small amount of testosterone that is still fueling the drive.
Yeah.
So, regardless of what your physical stature is, you still have the testosterone that is there to push you further than a female might go. So, I don't know.
It's a complete atrocity. It's absurd that it's happening. It's completely unfair.
Yeah, completely unfair.
What's
the point in having women's sports at all? What's the point in having women's sports if somebody can come in and just declare that they're a woman and then win?
And we're not saying that we don't want them to compete at all.
Yeah.
If we're gonna have them competing against each other, males versus females, you should have a men's category where men compete with men. You should have a women's category where women compete with women, and then you just have an other.
Yeah.
Where whoever wants to come in can come in and compete.
Well, I mean, we don't send fully capable athletes to go compete in the Paralympics, do we? No.
No.
Can you imagine how unfair that would be? They have a clear advantage.
Yeah.
You know, you send a person with legs to go in and run a marathon against a bunch of people in wheelchairs. How is that fair? It's the same way, the same thing. And I'm not saying that females are that much more disadvantaged, you know, comparing them to somebody who's in a wheelchair to somebody who has legs, but you're still very physically disadvantaged.
Yeah.
And I mean, props to the females who are able to keep a close distance behind what Thomas does, because they're able to at least do it, I guess, to be able to keep up with a biological male in doing that.
Yeah.
But you have to train twice as hard, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
You have to.
Well, you know you're going to be competing against him, and I'm sure you pay attention to his time, and you know, put that as what you need to defeat. But it's just absurd.
The worst part is he doesn't acknowledge the fact that, I mean, he was asked during the post interview, I guess the post swim interview, that, you know, I guess what his reaction was to all the news stories going on around him, how much buzz he's created. And he just kind of, he responded with, well, I just try to ignore it. And it's like, there's no acknowledgement of, hey, people are really upset about this. And some of your teammates are kind of like, I mean, what are they supposed to do? They're in a helpless situation, really.
Yeah.
Because they're in the middle of a university that doesn't care, really. They're all for Leah and his, you know, his agenda.
He also does not go all out to have a female appearance.
No.
To me at all.
As far as I know, he still has
the proper
he has the
tools in the trunk.
He has the equipment. Yes. So, and there was a news story a couple months ago, I think, of his teammates feeling uncomfortable in the changing rooms.
Of course. Because
apparently he obviously still has the mechanical parts, and they're in a changing room, all of them, and he's getting on a one-piece
How would that
swimsuit.
not make you uncomfortable?
Yeah, and apparently, according to his teammates, I think, at least some of them, I think I remember reading that they reported that he still has attraction to the opposite sex. Because just because he's transgender doesn't necessarily mean that he's not heterosexual. So just imagine that. I'll leave you to your own devices on what that must be like. But
our world is upside down and backwards.
Yeah.
When it comes to this stuff. I mean, if life's not hard enough, we're making it 10 times harder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're teaching young girls that they're going to eventually have to compete against biological males that just declared that they're females, what motivation is there for them to do anything? I mean, after all, these past few decades have been all about female empowerment. You know, women are competing
against a long way.
They're coming in a man's world, and they got to compete against men. And all of that is just thrown away when we put a man in the sport that is designated for women. You know, like the entire... I read another story of feminists saying the Democratic Party is just blind to them now. You know, think about the past couple of years, feminist movement, it's been all over the place. The Democrats have been all over the feminist movement. That was a majority of the reason why Hillary Clinton was the nominee for the Democrats in 2016 is because she was a woman.
Right.
That was like the only quality that she had. They went around and they asked the voters, you know, why are you voting for Hillary Clinton? She's a woman.
They're still doing it to some extent.
So it's all been about female empowerment, and then the left, when it's convenient for them, turns around and then just throws a male into an all-female sport. And that's a challenge, but that's too much of a challenge. Really, it is. What would be really great is if there was a female that was actually able to compete better than Leah Thomas and was able to just like completely school him, blow him out of the water. That would be great. But I
still
don't see
wouldn't
that
agree
happening.
with it.
Really,
I still wouldn't agree with it.
I don't understand how this happens. You can't throw. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. It's like letters in math. It's like math is numbers.
Shouldn't have belonged.
And numbers do not belong in math. No, letters. Letters do not belong in math.
Yes.
But you get what I'm saying. You're throwing the wrong ingredients into a pot, and you're just expecting it to come out into something that's both fair and equal, and I don't know, and you're expecting people to just go along with it.
Yeah. The left was all about equality up to this point. I mean, they still scream it, but this is not equal. It's blatantly unequal. Another absurdity is the picks for Time Woman of the Year.
No, I haven't seen this.
Okay, so...
Is it the vice president?
No.
No?
It's Rachel Levine.
Ugh.
One of the most beautiful women.
This is exactly what I mean. Because the whole thing has been, well, you're competing against men for a top position. Now we're throwing men into the position that a woman could have had.
Yeah.
A legitimate woman. A very, if you actually wanted to do things by merit and not by skin color or by gender or whatever, then you could actually have a really capable, smart woman in the position that Rachel Levine now holds.
Yeah.
You're taking away the opportunity from an actual biological woman while also preaching that women deserve men's roles. So it's like, what are you supposed to do with that? It's two-faced. It's
just
hypocritical.
as absurd as having rappers and opera performers in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you're not a rock band, you don't really belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No,
but yet
I don't know why they do that. It must be just some sort of ploy to appeal to everybody. I
think it's because it's the most widely known Hall of Fame in music that they don't want to create a rap hall. Maybe there is a rap Hall of Fame, or
is there? I don't know. There might be an R&B.
Yeah, I don't know.
R&B
I don't know if there
and
is or
hip-hop
not.
Hall of Fame. There might be that one.
I feel like they're just jumping on that bandwagon of that's the one that's already so popular that everybody knows what it is, that we're just gonna lump all these other genres into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And as far as I know, ever since Dolly Parton was nominated for it, she turned it down. But then I think ever since then, there's been talks about her actually wanting to collaborate with certain people and create a rock album.
Do a rock album. She said her husband has been pushing her because he's a big rock fan. To do a rock album, which would be very interesting.
I can't see Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton just released a new album, and I like Dolly Parton, but I just kind of feel like now her music is taking a turn. I don't know why, but it just seems like when she was younger, her music was a lot more creative and enjoyable for me. I thought the new album was just a little slow and not really Dolly Parton-esque, really. It felt overproduced. It sounded like songs were just kind of, I don't know. They sounded thrown together instead of really working on them. I don't know.
But I can't really see her singing rock.
I can't either.
That would be interesting to hear, because she just got that voice that you automatically know who she is.
Yeah.
And it automatically fits into a specific genre. So it would be interesting to hear what it would sound like.
Yeah. And for clarity, I didn't listen to the entire album, but the songs I did listen to very briefly, or the portions of songs that I listened to, I didn't like. So
I have not listened to it, so I'll have to tune in.
Yeah, it's okay. It wasn't the best. From what I heard, but I didn't hear all the songs, so maybe there's a song in there that I
need to revisit it. Maybe you were just in a foul mood.
Maybe. Yeah, I was in the middle
with music.
You got to be in school, so
yeah. If I'm not in a great, mood or I have to be in a proper mood to really listen and get involved.
Enjoy music, yeah,
and enjoy the music.
Yeah, I was in more of a like a funk music phase that day that I listened to it. I listened to several different songs, but yeah, it's absurd what goes on in today's world.
Yeah, it totally is. Upside down, backwards, nothing makes sense.
But I mean, that's the idea. If you can destroy something as fundamental as basic biological science, then you can destroy pretty much anything. I mean, it's easy to take something philosophical or something mental and twist it, but to twist actual biological evidence, it can be very damaging, that's for sure.
Yeah.
When something very clearly is one thing, but you can brainwash an entire population into thinking that it's not what it clearly is, that's a problem.
But it also speaks to the hypocrisy of our politics.
Mm-hmm.
When we've been told for 2+ years when it came to the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
to follow the science with everything that they were preaching to us and all these mandates they're throwing out. And so when they want us to follow the science there, we're not supposed to follow the science when it comes to transgenders.
Well, there was one person, I don't remember who it was, but I watched it on a different show, saying that the science wasn't clear. It's not clear.
Well, that's the go-to when you don't have a good argument to refute the truth.
Well, science just isn't clear on whether or not transgender individuals actually can change. I don't even know what she was saying, but the science isn't clear when it comes to gender.
The science is totally clear.
Science is pretty clear.
Because God created man and woman. It's 2 genders.
Pretty clear.
Pretty clear.
You
God wasn't confused.
You can feel however you want. I mean, mentally, you can feel however you want.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you are what you perceive yourself
Nor
to
does
be.
it mean I have to treat you in a certain way based on how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can, I mean, like I said, you can think whatever you want. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean that you are that actual thing. And like you said, I don't have to address you how you feel.
And that's where the conflict comes in. I don't care how you feel that you are on a specific day. I don't care. But when you bash me because I didn't use your correct pronouns or proper pronouns, well, then we have an issue because now you're forcing me to act in a certain way against the truth that I see.
The reason why I think so many people are turning to LGBTQIA plus ideology, or at least transitioning into this other person than what they actually biologically are, is I feel like we've attached a status symbol to not only pronouns, but just the entire status. If you're LGBTQ, you're entitled. You are a class in society that is above everybody else, and you must be treated as such. Kind of makes you into this royal person that cannot be touched. The left loves that. I mean, they love that, to be in this special class. I mean, class warfare, that's what it is. At the end of the day, if you can throw a bunch of people into a class, make them feel either marginalized or special in some way, those are the two extremes, you got a lot of sway over them.
And the left doesn't attach themselves to these people because they care about them. It's just to get votes.
Yeah. So that's why it just makes more sense. I mean, if you attach a status symbol and a certain class to pronouns or feeling a certain way, especially something that in the past has been labeled mental illness, I would still agree with that.
Yeah.
But when you attach a status symbol to it, when you make people feel empowered by it, naturally they're going to go to it. I mean, if they don't have any sort of something to go to give them meaning or purpose in life, they're going to find it, and they're going to do it whatever works for them. And if all they have to do is identify as something they're not, and then they get this special privilege, and anybody who comes at them is immediately thrown under the bus, they're going to gravitate towards that. Sure. Not only that, most of these people don't have a sense of personality or a sense of self-identity. So, especially because it happens a lot among the younger generation, they don't have that sense of identity yet. So they constantly search for it, and they say, well, I mean, this is a great identity. I don't know what my identity is, but this is the problem with teaching it in school, because these kids, they have no clue who they are, what their purpose is, what they're doing here.
And a lot of them have really tragic events that happen in their past that kind of helps
they're
lean
lost
them towards this road as well.
And so they're searching for an answer, a purpose. They're searching for something that will make them feel better here in this world. And they see the praise that's given to these people. They see, I might have benefits here. And not when you're constantly taught that, when you're constantly taught that these feelings that you're having of not really knowing who you are, what you're doing here, or not having a sense of self-worth, if you're taught that is you questioning your sexuality or questioning your gender, or you're just not sure really who you are yet, and you need to decide who you are, and then you give them the opportunity to change biologically what is already true of them, then that's their only option, really. I mean, that's what's thrown into their face, and then they say, oh, that's the answer to it.
Yeah.
I can change myself fundamentally, and people will accept me then. But the problem is they won't. Society won't. And that's what the Democrats are trying to change. But then, you know, it goes...
But then it delves even deeper when we're teaching young children in grade school about sex and about exploring their bodies, and you're feeding them to pornography and all kinds of just awful things.
All of these things have destroyed lives. Like, all of them have destroyed lives. There
really starts an addiction and leads you down a very destructive path.
There's been people that have gone through the sex change surgeries and completely regretted it. They live in agony for the rest of their life.
Yeah, but we don't talk about or highlight those people at all.
Yeah, and that they suffer. They really suffer. And I would think, even if you didn't have any physical complications, you would, no matter, even if you didn't have the surgery, your life will constantly be trying to keep up with the new fads or the new, you know, the LGBT LMNOP
QI,
class.
2 plus.
They constantly, well, I mean, there's a plus on the end of it for a reason. They're constantly adding new and more different things. So you're always going to be outclassed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's, you know, say somebody just decides to be a cat one day, and then then they get all the attention, right? All the attention goes away from that from you and goes to the new, more weird, wacky thing. That's how fads work. That's how society works. The new thing gets all the attention. The gay movement used to be all about acceptance. Well, now it's see me. I want to be in the spotlight. I am in the image of a I don't know, a citizen. I don't know. But basic moderate people are not given really anything these days. It's all the crazy very
No, we're the white racists and yeah.
So, but I mean, you can see what I'm saying. Your life as an LGBT whatever is going to be constantly changing. Constantly. There's going to be new we see when you put yourself into this class, right? This class is going to change. It's going to have different rules, different ways of expression, especially in the LGBT. There's different, I don't know, they used to have a gay day, and then that
got
was
a whole Pride Month.
That was parades, and then you've got Pride Month, and that's an entire month. Soon enough, it'll be Gay Year, you know, it'll be Pride Year, it'll be... So anyway, there's new ways to express that, but that identity is kind of built around showing yourself off. And if you're not doing that in your quiet life, then kind of your meaning kind of goes away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not going to have meaning anymore if people aren't seeing you. I mean, if that's the reason why you chose that in the first place. But I'm not saying that's everybody. Some people legitimately have trouble with things. But, I mean, that can be overcome. There's ways, but it's a difficult subject.
It is.
But to teach it to children and to expect other citizens to do what you tell them to do is, you know, we tend to think of authoritarianism as one guy telling other people what to do, and he's like the leader. Everybody recognizes him. Authoritarianism can just be, you know, you're
a group.
Yeah, it can be the authority telling somebody else what to do, and it can happen on an individual basis too. If you build yourself up to this level, you can't be touched, and then everybody you talk to is destroyed.
It's very much an upside down world.
It's destructive, but that's by design.
You know, we used to be where we would, you know, protest and petition our government because we didn't want them to tell us what to do, and now it's the exact opposite. Now we're petitioning and protesting for them to take more rights away, and that's absurd. I just don't get it.
Yeah,
well, I don't get it at all.
When I say it's by design, it's destructive by design. If you teach that to children, it's a destructive habit. It's a destructive way of life to constantly belittle other people and to build yourself up. It's designed to destroy. I mean, what is this nation built on? It's built upon the idea that all men were created equal. I mean, Abraham Lincoln said that. I'm going to try and quote it for you from memory because I just had to memorize it the other day. But in his Gettysburg Address, 7 years ago, our fathers established on this continent a new nation. And I believe he said founded upon I don't remember. Anyway, on the basis that all men are created equal. And it was established on freedom, and there's other verses. there's other paragraphs. Yeah. But that's the general idea, is that this nation was founded on the idea that all men are created equal. So this agenda that is taught to young children, and the agenda that the Democrats have been pushing for a long time now, is designed to make you the most important person, and then everybody else is lower than you.
Yeah, and a lot of that was built into Common Core when it was introduced. I remember reading and watching videos on like some of the English curriculum that they were teaching kids in like first grade. And it was teaching them how to talk in such a way that they could manipulate their parents so that they could get their way. And it's like, come again?
Yeah.
You're in first grade.
But it's specifically designed to destroy the American way of life. It's specifically designed to make kids feel that they are the most important person and that nobody else matters. That not all men were created equal. That to say that this one group of people is more important than the other group of people. But they do it in such a subtle way to where it's like, oh, well, they are equal, but at the same time, your cause is more important than them. So, therefore, you're higher than them. You're better than them.
And at the same time, they're destroying all the history from our history books.
Yeah.
And changing it to benefit their own cause.
If you were to dismantle a society, what would you need to do first? You would need to destroy how that society operates. And you would need to put people in a mindset of electing the person who is going to give them the most benefit. It's not going to be for everybody else. It's going to be for them. That's easy. Easy to make people see. If you give them something, they're going to want it. If you give them an option, they're going to take it. And give them who is not going to take a free. And Dairy Queen has a new their free ice cream cone day has been gone for like 2 years, and they're just bringing it back, March 22nd. Who isn't going to get a free ice cream? No, not a sponsor. But who's not going to take a free ice cream cone? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's how it works with politics. If you're going to give somebody a step to get up on a ladder, if you just elect this person, they'll make you higher in society. Who's not going to take that? Really? Especially when there's an entire generation that feels self-entitled. That's how it's designed. That's what it's for, which is exactly what Ron DeSantis sees. Yep. He understands that these kids don't need to be taught any of that. And that's been incorrectly labeled the Don't Say Gay bill. It's not. That's the simple reason is just kids don't need to know about this.
Yeah, and parents have the right to stand up for their children.
Yeah.
And say, I don't want my child to be taught this.
Yeah. There's absolutely no reason why kids should be being taught what they are being taught. There's no reason. When you're 3, you're concerned about whether a circle will fit into a square shape on a little box.
Yeah.
That's all that you need to do.
And getting the fastest tricycle on the playground.
Exactly. Like that's the bread and butter of childhood. That's what it is. And you can't start forcing all that adult material onto them.
No.
You can't. Their little brains are not going to be able to handle any of it. I don't remember much from when I was 3, but even then, and that's another argument for it. If they're not going to remember it anyway, why bother? Yeah,
well, so because it conditions them to be
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
More accepting
but
as they get older.
That's you can't do that. It's not right. It's not right to do that to a generation. And that's the same reason, I mean, one of the reasons why, or the main reason why the LGBTQ plus community has such an outcry against this bill is because me. No. I want those kids to respect me. They need to know how they need to respect me. They need to know what my pronouns are. Otherwise, I'm going to be offended. And if this generation has no idea how to treat people like me and me myself, then they don't, they don't deserve a place in my world. They're not worth anything. You need to make sure you push that into people. It's self-centeredness. That's all it is.
Yep.
And I'm sure the other side could just say the same thing about us. Well, we don't care about what you guys want. It's not that we don't. It's not necessary. It's really not necessary. Our position is.
There's so many.
You can feel what you like to feel, but it doesn't mean that everybody else has to conform to it. Really, it doesn't.
We have so much other problems in the world that this takes away a lot of focus and a lot of energy and a lot of time on whether or not somebody's using the right pronouns.
Yeah.
And pronouns don't have feelings.
That's another thing. You can turn something so small into something ginormous. And you can attach a huge cause to it, and then people will just flock to it because that's the big thing. It is. That's how these things work.
What do you guys think? I mean, let us know in the comments. We'd love to have you join the conversation.
Any word on how many people are watching?
2 that I know of on YouTube.
Great.
I don't see any on Facebook, so. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, hopefully if you haven't missed most of it. I think it's been great conversation.
Yeah.
I almost feel like this is better than reading stories. I don't know why, but it's like I just feel like this flow is better. We tend to stay on a subject for a really long time.
Yeah, so that ends up being most of the show.
But
just one subject and one topic. But
whatever.
If that works,
yeah,
then so be it. We went from like cool background music to now we're like rocking.
Yeah. We need something that's like rock worthy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
Well, we can talk about the fact that President Biden ignored reporters. We don't have the video for that. But he basically, people are
I think there's more than one.
Shouting questions at him, and he just starts stacking papers. And he like leans in. He's like talking to his aide or something. It's like, I don't know. It's not even real.
Yeah. This is a president that, his handlers know that he cannot talk on his own. He has to read from cue cards or something to stay on script. When you let him out, he goes rogue, and a lot of weird stuff comes out of the man's mouth.
Somebody told me that he was going overseas. Is that like part of the plan, that he was actually going to go overseas?
I did hear that as well, and I don't remember where overseas he was going to go.
Yeah, I didn't know that. All I know is that he was planning on going there. So I've been told.
It's about time. I mean, he should have been over there. Everyone else, every other country was sending their leaders over to negotiate with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. Yeah. And we sent Kamala Harris, our vice president.
Yeah, how long should we be?
Because Joe was vacationing in Delaware every weekend.
Yeah. Come on. That one question by that reporter. Well, you and President Biden have mentioned that we might have to suffer a little bit for the cause of freedom. Well, how long should we expect the gas prices to be so high and inflation and all that due to this crisis? She just looks over it.
Oh, you want me to answer? You want me to answer that? Not him?
He started.
It was directed directly at you, Madam Vice President.
A bunch of other talk show hosts have covered that, and one actually counted how long it took her to answer. It took her 9 seconds.
9 seconds.
9 seconds of total silence, and her looking around, being all confused about how to answer this question. And then when she finally gets to answer the question, she goes, well, the range of topics that President, whoever she was talking to, him and I have discussed, including the Black Sea, which I will let him explain. She didn't mention nothing about what the question was.
Nothing to do with.
You can see it on her face. It's empty nods the entire time that he's watching. That he's answering.
She's
the question.
like blanking out.
Blank state.
Who knows what's going through her head? She's just blank stare while this question's being reported or asked right at her. She's awful. Yeah, she is awful. She's terrible. She's never been able to answer questions. When you think about the top 3 officials in our government, we're in a lot of trouble, gang.
It should alarm you. Yeah, that's
we
for
have
sure.
a senile 80-year-old man, or 79. Was he 79?
I don't even know who he is.
He's old. He's senile.
Yeah.
He's like the dude that is like wandering around aimlessly when you walk into nursing homes, and walking up and just smelling people's hair. He's the creepy guy that's just walking around in the lobby. He's top. And then next in line, we have Kamala Harris, who really has no qualifications to be there other than she was a woman and not white.
Yeah.
She's awful. She's disengaged in the whole process, has no idea what she's talking about, can't even read from cue cards correctly.
No.
And then third in line, we have another old and senile Nancy Pelosi, who
reads poems.
Reads poems from Bono. She's awful.
Yeah.
I can't. If you sit me down and watch videos of these people, I'm either laughing at the absurdity, crying because this is awful, knowing what this means for our country.
Yeah.
Or I'm just cringing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about this scenario. Say, and this is a terrible scenario, but it's very possible to happen. Say Biden were to unexpectedly pass. The person who's in there at the next moment, who's being inaugurated to be the president of the United States, can't handle one question from a reporter. She will then be faced with, one, tremendous inflation in the United States. Two, an ongoing war overseas that we have now involved ourselves in, not necessarily militarily, but with aid and money, definitely financially, billions of dollars.
Yeah, and one has to wonder why so much money. Like, are we paying somebody to keep something quiet?
Well, we do have research labs there.
We do.
So, I mean, take
and
that
plus the
as you
ties
will.
with Hunter. Very strange things going on.
Yeah, and then and she also has to handle, which she won't because she hasn't, and the entire administration has no plans in handling a border crisis. At the same time, we can't figure out our own oil situation, and China is, in a blink of an eye, they can just decide to invade Taiwan. I mean, they're jumping for it.
I think they're just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah.
I mean, the moment we get involved more deeply in the Ukraine-Russia thing, I think that's when it happens.
Yeah. And I believe they are a member of NATO, Taiwan.
That I don't know.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But I know we're more involved with Taiwan than we are Ukraine. So, whatever that means. And then the person at the helm is Kamala Harris, who laughs every time she's asked a simple question. Either that or she deflects it to somebody who has no authority on that matter. An American politics, and that goes to him for some reason.
So much with her hands.
She has no clue.
She has no clue
never had a clue.
What she's talking about.
Yeah, she was asked the question.
So she's got to make herself look more
a
important.
long time ago. Why haven't you visited the border yet? Why haven't been to Europe yet either? That's not the question. What are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense to have this person in there right now. Not to mention the fact that the only reason she was selected as a vice presidential candidate was because she was a black female.
Yeah.
The only qualification. And that, if there's ever any statement as to why that system does not work for American politics based on race and gender electing officials, Kamala Harris.
She's a prime example.
We have Kamala Harris as our vice president. She can't handle a simple question directed right at her about simple things that require simple answers. She talks to us like we're 2-year-olds. That's our vice president.
See, there's a country.
And
if borders a larger country.
If she goes out of commission, the next person in line is Nancy Pelosi, who can't deliver a solid sentence without stuttering for 10 minutes straight, who can't give an interview without zoning out into the middle of nowhere.
She has to reboot like mid-sentence.
And the one who a couple weeks ago told all of those who shared opinions with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert after the State of the Union, she told us all to shut up.
Yeah.
That would be your president. Say both of the two people in line. It's madness. It's madness.
We're in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
So, first thing we need to do, one thing that we need to do, it needs to start at the local level. Local elections. Think about the area in which you live. I know where we live, our local elections have awful turnout. I mean, the number of registered voters versus the number that actually go vote in local elections is abysmal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a small percentage, probably not too much further out of the teens in percentage of the number of people that go and vote in local elections. Local elections are just as, if not more, important than our national elections. So step one. Step two, we have a huge primary coming up, midterm elections in 2022. Right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
This year? Yeah.
Is it this year?
Yeah. It's 2022.
Yeah. Oh. It's getting late, folks.
Yeah.
It's almost bedtime.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you get out and vote for decent people who speak common sense.
Who understand the direction that people are taking. By the way, I finally got the book that I was recommending in the other live stream that we did.
Yes.
Don't watch it. Don't watch the other live stream. But I was asked what a book I would recommend would be, and I said The Great Reset by Glenn Beck. And I have it. I can show it to all of you. But I started reading it, and it's very good. It describes, a lot of the agendas and where we're headed to. Again, not a sponsor, but
just a big fan.
Big fan.
I have several books from Glenn Beck, both the fiction ones and the nonfiction, and they're all incredible. He's a great author.
This book that I mentioned in The Great Reset it's nonfiction, so it's real stuff. He describes where the world is headed, and he makes it a specific point to say you don't have to agree with me. All right, I want you to look at this book. I want you to read it with a very open mind, and I encourage you to disagree with me, but I'm going to show you the facts, and examine the facts, and then you can decide whether or not you agree with me or disagree.
Yeah.
And I know the facts are there because I've seen them firsthand, and I know that he's a very credible source.
Yeah, he's very detailed in his bibliography of where he gets his sources and gets his information. It's all in there.
So yeah, that is a book I recommend. I just started reading it, and so far it's great. So, and that's just the first chapter. So
yeah,
can't wait to read the rest of it. Yeah. So lots going on in the world, but the only thing I would add to that is go to God.
Yep.
Yeah. There's only so much we can do. So
the world's gonna feed you nothing but chaos and non-truth and ever-changing truths.
Yeah.
So
with every change in the world situation is a change in how we approach it, but God never changes.
God kind of gave us the book on how to live life. So our best thing that we can do is to read it, understand it, and to follow it.
Yep.
So, unless there's anything else y'all want to talk about,
I would imagine that when we release the podcast itself, we might just cut it off right where we ended. Right now, we can do a Q&A or whatever. People will comment. But
we got one person watching on YouTube, as far as I know. That's it. So
that's probably Jalen.
Probably so.
Yeah. So yeah. Have a great weekend. Have a great, whenever you're watching this or listening to it. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, and we will look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Yep. Oh, and if you enjoyed this format where it's not necessarily planned out and we kind of just stick to one topic or just kind of go to wherever we want, I guess, and kind of spitball on things, let us know. If you like the more scripted shows, then let us know.
But they're not really scripted. They're just
they're more planned out. We have bullet points, and we reference stories, and
we move from story to story.
Have more videos to show you all. But yeah, feedback is always the best thing. And if you enjoyed the live stream, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so that you know when we're going live, or released a small snippet of our last live show or whatever. Yeah. I think we have plans in the future. You see, we don't necessarily have filming locations, besides where we are located. So, but I do think we both want to do shorts, YouTube shorts, which would be interesting. I mean, we've had ideas in the past that didn't necessarily plan out as well. But yeah,
you never know something unless you try. Yeah.
So we're still working on that. No guarantees, but it might give you just a little bit of something to look forward to. But yeah, and then you can if you're watching on YouTube, you can check us out wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to just listen to the show, that's fairly simple.
Yeah.
You can rate us there.
We're on just about every service that you can get your podcasts from. So, and our social information will be on at the end of this video.
Should
so
slide across the screen, or at least show up at the
see it.
last point. So
anyway, get to bed. Church tomorrow.
well, I mean, if you're listening to this when we're recording it.
Yeah. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Yep.
So until then, take care.
Bye now.